Mr. Dylan Thomas getting sent, turned around. Everybody manages to stay off of him. Next incident, lap number 47, it's Seth Rawls. It's not the last time we're going to see Seth. Gets turned, spun out. There's one. Next one, Seth Rawls. Oh, he gets spun out again. That's number 2. We're not done yet, folks. Lap 81, Seth Rawls. He's just mad, and he takes it out on Michael Goodman. Goodman hard into the outside wall. Seth Rawls 3 for 3. Next incident of the day, and it's the 98 car, followed by, that's Nick Massey getting spun around. We'll hear from Nick later on. And another Jimmy Johnson car, Matthew Bayou, getting in that. Next incident of the day, it's Damian Leininger getting to the back of the 23. Austin Beers involved. The 29 of Bayou involved as well. Next incident, maybe the heated incident of the day, is Dylan Thomas going left, going right. Cam's tired of it. He sends them up the track. Dylan into the wall. Cameron's day done. Multiple cars involved. And here's the most unfortunate part of the day. It's all the Volkswagens, Dustin Dewar, Michael Goodman, Dave Carpenter, all getting wrecked. Here we go. Lap 171. It's the leaders. Crash. Trupiano. Marcus into the wall. Joe Francis into Marcus as well. And here's Nick Massey slowly marching his way up through the field. We saw him spin out. 10th, now 8th, now 5th. Not the last time we'll see Nick. This sets up the green-white checkered. Multiple cars. Trupiano comes flying in and just wants to join the party of wrecked race cars. Here's the last green-white checkered. Mike Christopher Jr. gets through second, great. Gets through third gear, not so great. Gavel into the back. Ends Gavel's day, ends Mike Christopher Jr.'s day. And it's Nick Massey taking the win. His first win of the season. Two-time champ. Gets it done at Richmond. Righteous Felon Beef Jerky 180. Top 10 result is Nick Massey getting the win. Hibbs, Crump, and Delicato and Leininger rounds out the top 5. Then you got what? Seth Rawls getting 6th? That can't be right, is it? It is. Seth Rawls gets 6th. 7th, Dylan Thomas. Matthew Bayou, Kyle Hanshaw, 9th, and Cameron Rich rounds out your top 10. We catch up with Mr. Gavin Hibbs, the third place finisher.
Yeah, it was a tough start to the race. I mean, literally had a iRacing issue literally as we're heading the grid, so I had to quickly run out of the session, quickly jump back into it. Missed the starts, but luckily we were only able to miss the pace laps. Got back in time for the green flag and was about half a lap to 3/4 of a lap behind the field. Just needed to rely on the yellow to get back up there, and luckily we got caught the yellow. After that, it was pretty rough. But the car felt great, just slicing through the field. I mean, we made our way into the top 10 probably before lap 80 or something like that. So it was a great race on my end, The strictly stock Dodge was...
Lineup, yeah. All right, ready? All right, that was the race recap from Richmond. So just real quick before we jump into the starting lineup here, Chris. Well, we'll get the starting lineup now. We'll go over the Richmond race as we run the race. So Chris, you want to start us with the starting lineup?
Yeah, it looks like we got Aaron Smith out here on the pool at a 30-13 here. We got Matthew Bayou second, Cameron Rich, Dylan Thomas, Andy Trupiano, Damian Leininger, Nick and Delicato, Ryan Barbieri, Joe Francis, and Ryan Gavel as the top 10 here.
Scott Crump in 11th, Johnny Thomas starting 12th. Drew Eisenman's back with 13th. Brian Narducci starts 14th. James Heater will start in 15th. Kyle Hanshaw, the boss man, starts 16th. Seth Rawls will roll off 17th. Mike Christopher Jr. rolls off 18th. Gerald Campbell will roll off 19th. And Dusty Dewar rolls off 20th. David Carpenter rolls off 21st. Michael Goodman will start 22nd. And then in provisional land, 23rd, Austin Beers. 24th, Nick Massey. 25th, Brandon Bach, and 26th is Gavin Hibbs. So ripping through that starting lineup, and we'll get to our picks in a second, but let's go over to that Richmond race that we just saw the recap of. Nick Massey picks up his first win, Chris. Take us through kind of the journey there, I think, for Massey, kind of surviving a chaotic Richmond race. I know he was spun around at least once.
Yeah, it was about survival. He had that spin to win. He spun there in the middle of the race with some other cars. They had a big incident. And these Gen 4 cars are so hard to drive, and we'll see it tonight. And you've already broadcasted a couple of these Gen 4 races this season. These things don't have quite the downforce or the grip that these guys are used to. So we'll see a lot of sliding around, a lot of comers and goers, and quite a few self spins, if I had to guess here, off of turn 2 and 4.
It's one of the great things about Nashville Superspeedway. The surface is concrete. It's going to eat into those tires. It's going to create a lot of tire wear. We're going to see multiple pit stops in this 120 lap race. Got that hot temperature out there on the Nashville sun beating down on these guys. We're trying to get the track temp 120 for the track temp. So definitely
pretty slick, right?
Yeah, going to be some slipping and sliding here tonight. Aaron Smith going from the pole once again. He went from the pole at Daytona, had a really strong run there till he was taken out in that incident on lap 35 maybe with Michael Goodman, Zach Roethlisberger, and a few others. See if Aaron Smith can keep it up front today, utilize that track position. Got Matthew Bayuk starting alongside him. Chris, Robert, who are your picks for tonight? We'll start with you, Chris.
Well, real quick to put a bow on Richmond last week, we had a wreck down into turn 1 at one point, and it was all the Volkswagens in the race. They all wrecked with each other. So hopefully tonight's a better night for the Volkswagens. And as far as my pick to win, I'm going to go with Ryan Gavel. The guy's got speed and everything he runs, and I think he will have speed tonight in Nashville.
It's a good pick. For Carlos, I will go with Cameron Rich since he's not here. So here we go. Pace car's off. Getting ready to go green. Aaron Smith leads them down. Matthew Bayuk with a really good jump off the start.
If that's not a black flag, that's as good as you can do.
That was really strong there. We'll see what Bayou can do with that. He takes the lead going into turn number 1, clears down on Aaron Smith, and these corners at Nashville Superspeedway just a little bit different on each end. That turn 1, you can kind of run that top, but I think in 3 and 4 you have to be wrapping that yellow line right on the bottom where Matthew Bayuk's running here.
Yeah, and both of you guys can speak to this. This place is very deceiving. You think you can get down into the corners a little further and carry more speed and throttle around here than you actually can. It's quite a bit of break. The track is smaller than what it looks.
Right, and Andy Trupiano battling with Dylan Thomas here for 4th, just behind the leader as Bayuk has driven away early from Aaron Smith. Looks like Thomas kind of clearing away on the top there, and I think he will clear Trupiano into turn 3.
Yeah, in the first side-by-side battle, you see it right there. Scott Crump making the pass on Ryan Gavel. He slides up in front of him off of turn 4.
Crump very good on tracks like this. Very good with a slick race car, loose race car, saving your tires. I do like.
Oh, we got contact, 98 and 77, still bouncing off each other. It looks like they both are going to survive, but lose a ton of momentum.
It's Brian Narducci and Drew Eisenman. Drew, in his interview after a podium at Daytona, very candidly upset with some of the driving he saw out there at Daytona. He's still upset with Narducci. He's really going after him here. Drove him all the way down to the apron entering turn 3, then went kind of up the track after him there in 4. But as it stands, he'll slide in behind Narducci and right in front of James Heater in that kind of Denny Hamlin looking number 11.
Yeah, and if I'm Johnny Thomas, Gerald Campbell, I'm sitting there a little bit nervous seeing that, hoping that, I don't have to dodge something here pretty quick.
The battle continues on. Back up front, Cameron Rich stalking Aaron Smith, the pole sitter, who did not get to lead that first lap after the really good jump from Bayuk. And Bayuk has not had to come in and serve a black flag, so it looks like that was a legal start by the 29 car, and he got a really, really good jump out there to grab this early lead.
That might be the best start I've ever seen from second place with somebody. That was pretty incredible to get that big of a jump.
Battle for 5th. Damian Leininger fires it in on Trupiano. Trupiano able to clear down there, and I think everyone's really single filed out on that bottom line in turns 3 and 4. We have seen a little bit of that outside line in turn 1, but right now everybody just kind of lining it up, saving their tires. speaking of tire saving, right there behind Damian Leininger, that number 1 car of Nick and Delicato. That guy's a wizard at saving his tires.
Yeah, and I don't think we mentioned it, but they got 4 sets in the pits plus the set on the car, so they got lots of tires tonight. And do you think this single file is just these guys being careful, trying to save tires? Or do you think it's, we talked about it there, you mentioned it, the 120-degree track temp. It's pretty slick out there. You think these guys are just trying to manage, not wrecking the race car at this point?
Absolutely. I think it's a little of both, right? Trying to get a little bit comfortable with the car, with how it handles, right? And trying to see where your entry points are there in turn 1, turn 3. One especially is just this deep corner that you can overdrive, like you said. It's real easy to overdrive. It's real easy to underdrive too. And so finding that balance in this first run is so important to being able to, later on find a good short run speed that you can, maybe figure out how to make up some passes, because I get the feeling this race is both going to go green for a long time and be a track position race. It's going to be very difficult to pass. Though Scott Crump's making it look easy right now. He's up another place just around Nick and Delicato there. And he'll tuck in behind Damian Leininger there, right around 6th, 7th, and 8th place. Yeah,
and like you mentioned, Scott Crump is very, very good at every track and every type of car, but especially in these type of low grip vehicles, Scott finds a way to put himself in position. He could have won every race this year so far. He had himself in a position last week and just didn't get things to fall right, and had himself in position at Daytona. He's had himself in position to win all these races, and just a matter of maybe not getting the great breaks, but just not getting the bad ones that knock you back a few spots.
Right, and sometimes that's all it takes, especially. But Daytona, he was leading. He was on an off strategy with Trupiano, and they just wound up in amongst lap traffic and got wrecked. And then last week was a bit of a chaotic race at Richmond. So Crump with a bit of a poor qualifying effort, but he's definitely the second biggest mover thus far. Biggest mover, Gavin Hibbs, up to 16th from 26th starting spot. The Casey Kane throwback races continue. That's the 2006 version. He had the 2005 version on the car last week at Richmond. And now he's going after Daytona winner Johnny Thomas, who yields and lets him go by. Rare sighting there on iRacing, I would think.
Yeah, and Johnny Thomas in the great-looking belly-up sports car. Belly Up obviously does these broadcasts and brought us in for a couple of these races here. And the car looks great, and Johnny is always one of those guys who finds his way.
Oh, we got trouble.
We got Damian's real slow here.
I'm not sure what's wrong with that 12 car. I think he might have maybe busted a right front tire and hit the wall or something. We'll have to go back and take a look. Scott Crump was going underneath Damian there, and
I don't see any contact. And he gets the apron. There's going to be some contact, isn't there?
You'd think so. Damian's got it back up to speed here. No, just got loose there. He's overcorrecting, and he came down and got Scott and just slowed up. Man, I think it's just
almost like
a matter
did he downshift and get stuck somewhere did he think the speed got slow enough to downshift?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a weird one. But it's also a case of Damian maybe trying to take care of his stuff, not getting involved in another wreck. He's been in a couple already. Ooh, man. Almost one there as Barbieri comes down on Narducci. And a couple of lost spots there for the 15 car. And Cameron Rich just jumped up to second finally. He had been stalking that 70 car for a little bit. I wanted to mention it, but we just all of a sudden had a ton of things going on. That 17 car looks real fast. Cameron Rich is real good around these tracks too, in a lot of the similar ways that Scott Crump is, just with the ability to keep that car going at a very quick pace for a long time in a long green flag run.
Yeah, Cameron, like you said, he's one of those guys that always finds his way towards the front. Dylan Thomas is another one who's working his way up through there. There's a lot of guys who it gets done to the end of this race, and they'll find their way up and around the front. I look for Mike Christopher to maybe get up through here at some point. He was really strong last week, and you saw in that video there, he went from, I think he was trying to shift from third to fourth, and it got hung up in neutral, and he never could get it out of neutral there and had a big restart crash.
Yep. Gavin Hibbs continuing to charge through the field here. He's up to 14th. He's battling James Heater for 13th. That 9 car looking real sporty, just as it did at Daytona a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and that 9 car thrown back, like you said, to Casey Kane, who was named to NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers list there. And there was a period there in the mid-2000s where that 9 car at tracks like this, it was the guy that you were going to have to beat. And a lot of times they would have some kind of failure or something would happen where Casey didn't quite. Casey Kane could easily have 10 or 15 more wins if stuff didn't fall apart or blow out there on them. But maybe that's why they were so fast, is right on the edge.
Yeah, a lot of guys are like that. Battle for the lead coming up here is Matthew Bayuk, who has led the race from the get-go. Will now feel the pressure for the first time today as Cameron Rich brings the number 17 car up to the back bumper of that number 29 Seth Rawls Designs Dodge. And I believe it's a Pontiac for Cameron Rich, Chevy for Aaron Smith, and Dylan Thomas behind. Love getting to see these guys throwing a special manufacturer on there. That's always fun. And this Gen 4 car on iRacing with that flexibility to be able to run different manufacturers. Hence why we had the Volkswagen shout out earlier in this race, because the Do Good guys all running Volkswagens.
Yeah, and they're definitely, those Do Good guys are hoping for a way better result this week than they had last week.
Yeah, there's Michael Goodman right there, number 44.
I think Gerald might have the best looking car out of the bunch. He was already telling me tonight when he found out I was going to be doing the broadcast that, hey, make sure you guys get my car on here and talk about my race car. He's super proud of what's going on with it.
He led some laps at Daytona, had a very competitive car there, did not obviously get a good chance at Richmond, got caught up in that big crash, but here we go for the lead. Cameron Rich drives to the inside of Bayuk. Bayuk yields another instance of us kind of seeing the yielding, and I think this car kind of lends itself to that, right? If you choose to save your tires, Bayuk obviously didn't. He jumped out to the lead, trying to run hard, trying to get away as much as he could. Cameron Rich in rhythm, able to kind of keep it steady, and he's able to drive up and grab the lead here. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from this car already. It's just kind of yielding the better results than we often see here on iRacing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, the car is so much harder to drive. You don't have all that downforce. So you get to racing, you're going to get to wrecking really quick. And then, tire saving comes into play a lot more in this car than it does in some of these stock cars that we have now that are just so much loaded down with downforce that you just lean on the right front.
Heisman got the wall there. And, he was battling side by side with Johnny and Austin Beers. He's still
really sideways.
You see how difficult these cars are to drive, man. There's a lot of horsepower. This car gets up and goes down these straightaways, and Drew Eisenman struggling a little bit here. He had moved up a little bit, but speaking of moving up, the guy who was passing him when he made contact with that wall, Austin Beers, up to 13th from the 23rd starting position. So good run for Gavin Hibbs right in front of Beers, and then Beers here as well, up into 13th.
Taking a look here at Scott Crump. I believe Scott's driving a Dodge.
Yep. He's up into 5th. He got around Andy Trupiano at some point here while we were addressing other battles. And speaking of battles, battle for 2nd is raging right now. Aaron Smith pressuring all over the back bumper of Matthew Bayuk. Dylan Thomas just behind. And knowing Dylan, he's going to tuck it up underneath Aaron Smith here at some point and try to take advantage. Try to jump around both of these guys and get into 2nd.
Yeah, and if I was Aaron, I'd still be thinking about, man, how am I going to qualify on the pool and not even lead us at the start-finish line when the green comes out?
Definitely got to be on your mind. It's one of those things. You want to be on the pole. You want to get take advantage of that track position. But Aaron Smith's not been able to do so, and now Cameron Rich has set sail in front of him, and he's back in 3rd. Hoping for that first pit stop where you can take advantage of that first pit stall on pit road that you get with qualifying on pole there, but.
And what that might have been too is there were cars doing either or last week with 1st or 2nd gear. That might have been a case where the 70 started in 2nd gear, and Matthew said, "I'm gonna take off in 1st and just get a way better jump." You just got to be you got to hit it just perfect if you're gonna take off in 1st gear, or else it could end really bad.
Just taking a look through at the fastest lap last time by, it was Joe Francis in 9th. Fastest lap 31.29. Most everyone in the 31.3s, 31.4s, some 31.5s. So, yeah, here it is. Battle for 2nd. Aaron Smith, who was faster than Bayuk.
That doesn't surprise me about Joe Francis, because he was a guy who was really good a couple years ago at saving tires and when the cars had a little bit more horsepower and a little less downforce. So I think all these cars that we race now in most of these leagues, getting low down with downforce and whatnot, has really hurt the way Joe Francis approaches a race. And so this might be a series, or ERSCA might be the place now for Joe to really show his ability at taking care of tires.
what we've seen from Joe already at that Daytona race, where he was very dominant and almost won. I believe he came across the line second. And that's a Daytona, obviously, so much less of the tire saving management, but he does clearly love this car, and is able to really be, show off his talent in this series, I think. And he's run well in ERSCA before, even in the Xfinity car right now. So I expect to see Joe Francis up here before the day is done. Everyone's chasing that man, though.
It looks like the 29 is really backing up hard at this point. He's got another car right up on him, going to give up another spot, it looks like.
He just got real loose off of turn 2, wiggled it, almost touched the wall, did Matthew Bayuk in that 29 car. So, yeah, Dylan Thomas pressuring him, but unable to do anything just yet. And I'm loving all these silver cars, man. Nick Massey's got a silver car back there, Bayuk, Dylan Thomas. I'm a sucker for the silver car.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Nick Massey's really struggling without his normal crew chief on the pit box. He had other duties to do this week.
Yeah, don't let the record fool you, though. He's up to 17th from 24th starting spot, and I imagine just saving the tires, saving the stuff, believing a caution's going to come out at some point to allow him to catch back up, get that track position back together. I have all the faith in Nick Massey that I could. Looks like a battle there. Gavin Hibbs popped on the mic, too. I'm willing to bet he's a little unhappy with that. And right up behind Mike Christopher and Austin Beers, that battle between Hibbs, Beers, Christopher. I wonder if Hibbs maybe ran the tires off it, charging up from 26th up to 12th where he was just a couple laps ago.
Yeah, and one thing I'm sure you've already talked about this season, and so I might be bringing this back up for the second time. But these cars are totally different than anything else these guys have been racing for the last several years. You cannot make you start making contact in this car, you're lifting that guy's rear end off the ground, and there's going to be a caution. Any kind of contact, and it is a really bad outcome.
It was a big talking point at Daytona a few weeks ago when it came to bump drafting, and a couple of instances where guys did make contact and cause wrecks, and they were looking for similar, we saw similar issues on that review video of Richmond last week that went unbroadcasted. So yeah, this new car, this new change, definitely throwing these guys for a little bit of a loop. Looks like Matthew Bayuk has been able to stretch it back out on Dylan Thomas just a little bit. I think he'll be able to settle in here in third place after leading the first 18 laps of this race before yielding to Cameron Rich.
Yeah, right now everybody's kind of settling in.
Oh, man. Is that Narducci that just about spun out right there on the purple car? Yep. And there's also a battle for 6th, by the way, going on. Nick Delicato just took it from Andy Trupiano. Ryan Gavel's going to come after Trupiano for 7th as well. A couple of guys there, Delicato and Gavel, that I expect to be very good on the long green flag run.
And I'm not sure if Narducci got up there by accident by getting loose, or if he went up there to see what was up there. But he just ran the lap on the top, and it did not look very comfortable.
I imagine, and he's still loose. I imagine that the top will be really good on the first couple laps after a restart, right? But then you'll pay the price for having gone up there. This is just very much a bottom feeder track. The iRacing scan.
That car is rotating.
Narducci's going to need to come to pit road here soon. He's going to be the first caution of the day. The way this scan works, we've watched Nashville Super Speedway a couple of times now in real life, and I truly don't believe that this scan quite understands the way Nashville drives, because turn 3 guys will like could go up to the wall in real life. They could run that thing up top, and man, he is fighting this car. It was a great onboard shot there of him turning it back to the right coming off of turn 4.
Well, I believe Nashville put down some resin, didn't they not? And that's why they're able to move around in 3 and 4s, and that just doesn't translate to the sim.
Right, yeah, I think so. And then some of the banking, you can kind of ride up them. When I was there for the inaugural race that they came back to, and they rode the middle and top in 3 and 4. Like Kyle Larson drove it down in there, and it washed up a little bit, and then he just drove it off. And it doesn't drive like that on the sim. It never has. And, I think that's fine, right? It's a different track, it's a different race, but it means that top lane is non-existent, especially in 3 and 4, and I think that's kind of evident based on how these guys have been driving it early on here.
Yeah, and it's a real lack of grip too when it's hot. There might be might be able to move up. Probably not in 3 and 4, like you said. 3 and 4 is kind of a bottom feeder. There's a bump down there, and if you we've lost Scott Crump.
Wow. Call it a motor problem there for Scott Crump, the 0 or the number 8.
Oh, I believe he returned.
Oof. And Nick Indelicato's high on the mic here. He's trying to pressure race control, which I'm not even seeing Johnny Eckert in the session, I don't think. It might just be Johnny Thomas and Kyle Hanshaw, both of whom are on the racetrack right now.
So far, so good. I think as long as that's all that happens, it'll be all right, because I haven't seen him blinking, and then he was just gone, so...
Yeah, you got... I mean, Scott Crump, that's kind of one of those things, right? It's definitely cost him a number of races and track position from having to back out due to blinking and stuff. You know, him and Dylan Thomas both tend to have those issues, and hopefully they're resolved and he doesn't have to deal with it any longer today.
Yeah, hopefully. That's what he's hoping, too.
Like Christopher
Nobody's
Austin
hoping it
Pierce.
more than him.
Brendan Bach did come on pit road at one point. That is, I believe, the fastest car on the track. Yeah, running in the 30-second bracket. Everyone else is 31s and 32s at this point. So there it has been someone trying the very short pit. I don't know that that's going to be the move at all. He was in the back. He's trying something different.
It might work out, because this is going to be a 2-stop race. These guys are... I got a direct feed here to some fuel numbers, and they've only can run about 14 more laps or so. So
Yeah.
it's going to have to. They'll have to stop twice. They are not going to be able to do this on one.
I think Bach's pit stop was like 10 or 15 laps ago too, though. So he may be trying for like a 3-stop where he can just run with fresh tires the whole time as Dusty Dewar now comes down pit road.
There comes one of those Volkswagens.
Mm-hmm. The monitor as Cameron Rich continues to lead. That gap is still 1.2 seconds at the line. No change. Yeah, no change.
This line of cars from third on back right now, though, they are getting snugged up here a little bit.
Yeah, Indelicato and Gavel have caught Crump, and I think Indelicato's been taking it easy after seeing Crump be completely gone for a couple of laps.
I think we'll want to watch Matthew here. Matthew's going to pit this time.
He needs
from in front of this
too.
group.
He's been backing up pretty badly. I think that's kind of the other reason that these guys are all catching Crump and the others. Dylan Thomas is Bayuk, and Bayuk, whew, man, very close to losing it. They're coming to pit road, but really a good job. Beers also coming down pit road. So is Narducci, and he desperately needs some new rubber on that 98 car.
I don't think you'll find the guy out here who doesn't want to get new rubber. These lap times have fallen off quite a bit too. Mid-30s on a lot of these cars, and they're down in the 32-second bracket at this point.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Narducci overshot his pit box. I'm wondering if Brendan Bach's gonna show you how well fresh tires matter, and then how badly you need them. Right? He might be up near the lead, and then he'll fall all the way back to where he was, obviously over the course of the run. But before he gets there, he'll try pitting again, and see if he can't time it up to where right at the end of the race he doesn't fall all the way back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and he might have pitted like that and be hoping for a yellow maybe too on the other end. Is Ryan Gavel? Wow, the one car sideways.
Man, those guys are being really aggressive onto pit road with such a difficult pit road entry. You got to transition from that concrete to the asphalt. But hey, Chris, Aaron Smith finally gets his lap led there.
I think what happened there too is Nick pitted there, and they were side by side behind him, and I don't know that he gave him enough warning, and it was almost a wreck, and I think that forced Nick to maybe get in there really deep.
He hit it though. Doesn't appear to be any. Oh, Smith! Aaron Smith sliding. He just saved it. Smith's going to get on pit road. Going to lose a little bit of time, but nearly wrecked it coming to pit road. Dylan Thomas inherits the lead.
So far, it's all clean as well. I have not seen any black flags for anybody to this point. So we're seeing them on the edge here getting into the pits, but nobody's got that speeding penalty yet.
And Eisenman come in this time. James Teeter came in last time. Dylan Thomas is coming in this time. Scott Crump staying out on the racetrack. Dylan Thomas overshot it. he is going to get in, but that was not as ideal as the Cameron Rich and Nick Indelicatos who went just flying in on the apron.
Very tough to get on pit road, especially your first pit stop of the race. It's a tighter, this track we talked about how it's tricky and getting into the corners and it's deceiving on the way it is. Well, that pit entry is deceiving as well. You don't think you need to slow down as much, and it's as tight of a corner as it is. But these guys are finding out real quick that it's not just as easy as rolling out and turning left.
Yep. Crump on pit road. Trupiano, man, that was pretty speedy on the entrance there, but I think he's going to be all right. Joe Francis inherits the lead. Gavin Hibbs down pit road. Just
great job to all these guys, though. Nobody has gotten a speeding penalty as of yet. It's great. Speaks to the drivers and how good they are at getting on and off pit road right here without getting too much.
Yep, they've done a really good job, I think. And here comes Joe Francis now onto pit road. This has been a really good pit cycle. Just the fact they got to a green flag pit cycle also, we didn't see that very much last season in ERSCA.
Yeah, cars are a little bit harder to drive. These boys can't be quite as aggressive.
Nick Massey inherits the lead. 48 car trying to go long.
Yeah, might just be hoping for a caution at some point. I'm not real sure, tuned into what Nick is thinking here.
Brendan Boxcar still fast. You see he's in front of Ryan Gavel and Austin Beers. Those guys were
3 wide. They're going to split Nick here on the front stretch.
Yeah. Two guys who are going around Bach, they were in the top 10. Gavel was especially. So that track position play did work out for Bach temporarily. The problem is that he's going, you see how much slower he is than those two in front. He's going to be really struggling with, keeping up with those guys now on the.
Oh, we got cars side by side, the 82 and the 15
bouncing off each other.
Doors as they come off of pit road. Wow. They were getting all they could get.
3 drivers have not pitted yet. Michael Goodman, Damian Leininger. Oh, Leininger gets clobbered by Eisenman. That's going to be the first caution of the race.
Well, Nick Massey got his yellow that he stayed out here to get.
That was it right there. Massey, Goodman. Actually, Leininger's probably going to be all right, too. He's been kind of bowling balled around this race. Definitely, he was on the bottom going to pit, and Eisenman got in the back of him.
Slowing down for pit. Oh, wow. Got clobbered.
He was slowing down for pit road, man. I think it depends on whether he had called out pitting or not, but Eisenman's way far back. I mean, you got to be able to adjust your line there and move out of the way, I guess.
Yeah, I think like you said, though, it all depends on if he called it out or not. I mean, he might have thought he was far enough up there that he didn't need to call it out because he wasn't going to be in the threat of getting hit. And so it all goes back to that, I believe. If he didn't call it out, he'll probably be the one that gets blamed. If he did call it out, obviously that's going to be on the 77.
Right.
Not sure how much that damage is going to hurt him, though, here. It was pretty heavy contact. We'll see.
That trapped Dylan Thomas a lap down. Scott Crump got trapped a lap down. Only 10 cars on the lead lap right now. That caution also worked wonders for Brendan Bach, who will be on the lead lap. He had just gone by Nick Massey.
Yeah, and Dylan's going to get the lucky dog here, but Scott, Johnny Thomas, Andy, there's a lot of guys who are going to have to take the wave and will be on. Now, not only does that hurt them here as far as having to take the wave, but they're going to be at a tire disadvantage now as well.
Right. Slight disadvantage. I mean, a couple of laps. I don't know that's not going to rear its head here because we do have, we will have like a big restart here, and it's entirely possible that we wad them up going into turn 1 this time. So, I mean,
and some guys are getting their second set as well here. We got Gavel back on. Everybody, I believe, is pitted here, and some guys now are going to be putting on their second set. Obviously, everybody, if they pitted, is with the exception of the 44, the 12, and the 48, will be getting their second set of tires if they've pitted here.
Cameron Rich, Aaron Smith, Austin Beers stay on the racetrack. They will be your 1, 2, 3 on this restart.
Great play, though, for Nick there. You talked about how he qualified poor, and now he's got to flip the track position. Michael Goodman able to flip the track position.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big net game for them. You mentioned Brendan Bach. pitted early. That was the only way to do it. You either pit early or you wait for the caution, and it worked out on either side of that.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Two completely different strategies between Nick Massey and Brendan Bach, and they're going to be, on the lead lap in the same way. Austin Beers has decided to come down pit road, which is interesting. He gives up third place to come down, and I guess it's because he saw Bayuk and Gavel and maybe Delicado all take their next set. He figured he was going to restart 10th anyway. He might as well just, get the set, get the tires, but I kind of feel like you want that track position.
It's going to be interesting if it does go green here. These guys are at a tire disadvantage. I think the 17 and the 70 are going to get swallowed up pretty quick. These guys that took the wave around, they're hoping for a quick caution, because if there's not a quick caution, you do not want to be at a tire disadvantage with how low grip there is. And like I said, we had 2 seconds of fall off after 40 laps. So
we'll see how much tires matter. If Cameron Rich and Aaron Smith are able to maintain that lead, I think it's kind of safe to assume they don't matter when it's only a couple of laps. But if they fall into the clutches of guys who've been slower than them the whole race, it'll be pretty clear how vital it is to have that freshest set. And I think Austin Beers is making the gamble that, yes, having the freshest possible set of tires, being the sixth best car, the sixth car in line on the freshest set, is better than being the third car in line, but with a 5-lap disadvantage.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take this opportunity right here to plug some of ERSCA here. ERSCA is a great league. If you're looking to get into a league, Gen 4, Johnny Thomas does a great job running ERSCA. Took a little break there. They came back, and Johnny's a great guy to be friends with and to run a league. Going to give a shout out to you, David, everybody at Belly Up Sports. They're great people to work with, great people to talk to. It's a lot of fun to talk and catch up with all their podcasts. Search Belly Up Sports on the internet there, and you'll find a podcast talking about something you're interested in. I guarantee it.
Yep, absolutely. We do have word from the spotter of the 12 car. Pitting was called in turn 2 of that lap.
So there you go. Yeah, 77 had plenty of time and kind of just ran into the back of him. So
how about that? A lot of wave rounds there. That's why you don't see the whole field. Everybody took that wave around. All those guys will be on the tires that they pitted under green. They're going to be hoping for a quick caution to be able to come in and grab that fresh rubber.
And looking at that 12 car, it looks like they fixed it pretty good. So I think that damage is going to be, I think he's going to be all right. He's going to have the pace he had already. So
and restarting in 8th, got that track position back after the incident there on the front straightaway.
Here we go. We saw the 70 really struggle in the initial start. Does he choose to change it up a little bit here and maybe get a better launch? It looks like Nick Massey is the one who kind of got himself a bad launch there.
Yeah, Goody and Delicado just drove it straight in the fence, going down into turn 1. Got to pick on Goody there, man. He's a great guy. Love Goody, but yeah, oh man, Delicado's going 3 wide. Beers was already underneath him.
Yeah, here we go, 3 wide down into 3. And Nick chooses to take care of it there and not force the issue in the middle.
Yep, you got Damien. Oh, box loose there. They're going to go 3 wide again. Goody, I think, just brushed the wall. Almost another wreck, but we stay green.
I think what Goody was thinking there is, let me get back here to maybe where I'm at on pace, and we flipped the strategy. We did great. Now let's see if we can maybe do it again.
Yeah, Goody just got to take care of the stuff here. Can't be too overzealous at this point in the race. And Brendan Bach, Damian Leininger going after each other. Bach will pass the 12. 12 car does have a little bit of damage, though. And Bach loose, coming off of 4. They're going to go 3 wide. Dylan Thomas cuts to the bottom.
Dylan in that throwback to Kevin Harvick. I believe that is, 2002 Kevin Harvick car?
Yep, 2002, absolutely. By the way, Nick Massey has caught the back of Aaron Smith for the 3rd spot, or for the 2nd spot, rather, and Matthew Bayuk's right on Massey's bumper as well.
Scott Crump right there trying to drive back through the field. He is sitting right now just outside the top 10.
Yeah, he was right there in that battle.
He was a driver who was pretty frustrated with that yellow coming out. It hurt him a good bit there.
He was the 2nd car in line to get the lap back from Massey just after Dylan Thomas. Thomas got the lucky dog. Crump had to get the free pass. What I'm seeing thus far, though, is that the pace difference for tires it's not that much greater, between the 5-lap difference. Aaron Smith and Cameron Rich have been able to hold their own.
Oh, Scott Crump here are they 3 wide on the front stretch?
They almost got 3 wide on the front stretch. Dylan Thomas is now under Bach. Bach is the one kind of holding things up there. Leininger got back by him. Now Thomas is through. Crump's trying to get through.
Tell you what, that Bach machine is pretty loose.
Yep, he was fast right at the beginning, but I wonder if he kind of heated up that right rear tire on corner exit on one of those trying to get around the 12 car, and it's kind of thrown that car into the more upset. You see it sideways and wiggling around again. It's very easy to do that in these cars with all that horsepower.
Yeah, and the only way to get that right rear cooled off is to quit leaning on it, and so far I've seen him sliding out of every corner.
Nick Matthew just leaned on the right rear getting off of turn 2, just about smacked the right rear of it on the wall, but I think that's just Nick Massey right on that edge of speed and control, catching these 2 leaders right here.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. He just got it in the wall.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there with the right rear.
Is Nick Massey overdriving it right there?
I
haven't seen that.
I think he was just trying to find a way to get back in the throttle, get some momentum, and try to make the pass. I think he probably feels like he's better than those 2, and it's just so hard to pass. It's so hard to get the power down. You try to get it down a little sooner than the guy in front of you, and she'll step out.
Massey was able to hold 3rd place on the top, and now Bayuk, that kind of creates a situation where Bayuk had to lift, let Massey back in, and it's allowed Austin Beers to close back in and attack Matthew Bayuk. So, for all the talk of
really tight there,
all the talk of yielding and these guys kind of cutting each other breaks due to the car indifference, we also see that aggressive style also coming into play. Bayuk's going to jump back to the inside, though, try to get the 19 car right back.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is it's a little bit later in the race. We're right at halfway here. So these guys are not wanting to give up spots because it's a little bit harder to pass at the front than it is at the back. So
it's a little hard to pass everywhere. I've run into that just about every time I've run this track. It ends up being single file. It's just only the one lane, and so even if you're Cameron Rich and Aaron Smith running on older tires right here, you can hold everybody up just by planting it on the bottom and running good lap times.
Yeah, Nick's already gotten back up to him, so we saw him have that slide, get into the wall. He just slid again out of 4.
Yeah, it's allowed Austin Beers to close to the back bumper of the 48. And Beers went and got those tires. He was otherwise on the same strategy as Cameron Rich and Aaron Smith.
Oh, Johnny Thomas gets a piece of the wall down into turn 1.
And we side by side with Joe Francis, who was really hurt by that caution. Francis had been running really well, moving up through into the top 10 before the caution. Now he's way back in 16th.
Taking a look here at this battle.
This is a tight one, and remember Narducci's car after about 15 laps went from top 10s to outside the top 20 with loose issues. So, running on the top right here, that cannot be good for that right rear.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more cars slide. A lot of guys are deciding that they're going to push a little bit harder this run. They got comfortable in the first run, and they said, all right, we can push a little bit harder. Oh, Joe Francis just drove across the apron into 3 a little bit.
Nick Massey's going to yield this spot to Austin Beers. So Beers back to where he was, and he is now the first car on fresh tires. So an impressive pit call by Austin Beers to come down after everybody else, put on his extra set of tires, and he's made it count. He's run right back through the field, and he's back up to 3rd.
Yeah, it was a good decision to come and get the tires, but his driving is putting him back up here in position to make it look like it, because that should have hurt him. Giving up that track position there should have hurt him, but it did not.
Beers is a very aggressive racer. That's just what he does. His MO, right? Similar to kind of Ross Chastain or Joey Logano. He's just going to go in there, going to race you, going to put that car in a position to make you yield, and he doesn't care about it. And that's creating a really good scenario in a race like this where, guys are already on the edge of control. If someone's in control and able to make you make a mistake, they're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, we got a cloud coming over the racetrack, and that's going to cool the track off just a little bit.
Beers is going to get second here from Aaron Smith. He's got the run.
Yeah, he's showing Nick Massey how to do it there. Nick tried and couldn't do it. and got a little bit too loose, and now he's going to have to watch this 19 car do it. Maybe. It's still 70's putting up a fight right now.
If Masty can also sneak through on Aaron Smith, the 70 car does have about 5 or 6 lap older tires than Austin Beers. Beers a little loose on the bottom, but he will clear the 70 of Aaron Smith.
The 50 is sideways again back here in the middle of 3 and 4. Going to give up some spots here.
I wonder if Joe Francis is maybe overdriving it a little bit after kind of getting caught out by that yellow flag. Just trying to do too much after having that first run where he was so patient and able to drive up into the top 10. That battle's still raging between Narducci and Seth Rawls. That one's been going on for a solid 5 laps now.
Based on what I'm hearing, I think there was contact for that safety. The 50. I believe him in the 15 might have had some kind of ordeal happen down there in 3.
Maybe. Nick Massey now trying to get around Aaron Smith for the 3rd position. Smith definitely feeling the loss in laps on those tires at this point.
Ooh, Nick's pretty far sideways there.
Got it though. It's stuck coming out of turn 4. Nick Massey back up onto the podium in 3rd.
And as far as I know, he is not teammates with that 29, although those cars look pretty similar.
We believe it's just a Seth Rawls painted machine, not a team car. Ryan Gavel is a team car, and he's going after Matthew Bayuk there, his teammate, for 5th. Brendan Bott going after Trupiano in the back as well. So a bunch of battles all over the racetrack. This run has been a lot more racy.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys found the edge and got comfortable and said we can push a little bit harder here, and they are doing it. And the window is opening right here. The next time they pit will more than likely be the last time they pit.
And how far do you think you want to go here? I mean, I'm thinking maybe get at least through lap 80, so you're running 40 laps, but maybe even if you want to get to 90 and only run 30 laps on that fresh last set, so you can be pushing hard that whole time, because you have to assume this race may go green the rest of the way here.
I'm not sure when we went green, but I'd try to split it in half. That would be the rule of thumb, especially if I'm one of these front runners. You know, Nick played the strategy gamble right, got this track position. Now I would split this in half. I would do kind of what's conventional. I wouldn't try to get off cycle now, and I think you're going to see a lot of guys split it in half.
We went green on 53. We're now approaching lap 71. So just about hit 20 laps in this run. You got, 50 to go? 49 to go?
Yeah.
So it'll be 69 lap run?
Yeah, so I would split it in half. Whatever halfway is between when we start, what is that, like 85 or so? 80, 85?
Yeah. Somewhere between 80 and 90. Cameron Rich just got real loose off a turn 2. Austin Beers is going to jump to his outside. Rich protects the bottom.
That's what I'm saying, Nick Massey right back into this.
Cameron Rich trying to do everything he can to protect that track position, but I don't think it's going to matter for too much longer. Austin Beers all over him here. Beers just going to stick the nose in there and now gets the preferred line in turn 1 with the fresher tires. I think that might be all she wrote for Cameron Rich's lead here.
Oh, Beers gets loose. Cameron's going to go right back underneath him.
It's a good move by Cameron Rich, but...
Oh, Cameron backed out. He just didn't want to get stuck up there, I think. Nick says, I'll look up top. That's fine by me. Nick's got a pretty good run here off of turn 4. Not quite enough.
All right, now into 4th, Ryan Gavel. Into 5th, Nick and Delicato. First time for both of them into the top 5, not on pit cycle. The first 7 have broken away from the field, too. Matthew Bayuk is about 2.5 seconds ahead of Dylan Thomas in 8th. So the field is really spread out now.
My strategy might change if I'm somewhere maybe around Scott Crump. If I'm around Scott Crump, I might pit in the next 2 or 3 laps. Try to get on fresh tires early, be the first guy down there, try to jump everybody and hope for a caution on the other side of pit stops.
It's certainly possible, given how difficult it was for pit road entry and how that was our first caution of the day, was a mistimed, pit road entry and someone approaching someone on pit road with fresh tires. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable strategy at this point. The window's open, lap 75 here, so you may be 10 laps early, but that, you're running 10th, 15th. Why not give it a go? I mean, it worked out for Brendan Bach. He's able to kind of maintain in 12th. That's worked out for him. A really good pit strategy call. And here comes Seth Rawls. He's the one to do it.
Yeah, you got to be fluid with your strategy based on where you're running. Everybody has a plan before the green comes out, but then based on where you're running and based on circumstances and how the yellows fall, you got to be able to move your strategy around and not just stick to it just because that was your plan coming in. You got to be fluid and be able to make changes on the fly to try to put yourself back in the front.
Looking like a true crew chief there. Watching the crewed car run in and try to take second away from Cameron Rich here as well.
Yeah, he did a great job there with the strategy, and like I said, if I was able to be in Nick's ear right now, I'd be telling him to pit here in about, I don't know, 10 laps or so, maybe a little less, 7, 8 laps.
And somebody in this first group is going to have to make the call, right? The first person to kind of budge on this game of chicken is going to be the one to bring everybody else down pit road, because you want to stay very close to the guys around you, right? You see how Cameron Rich has been able to maintain second, Aaron Smith's been able to maintain sixth. The tire difference, 1 to 2 laps, not too great, but if you get to 5, 6, 7 laps, that's where the tire difference seems to really kick in. I think Massey got the wall right there.
Yeah, a little bit, not too awful bad, but Nick was really good on that long run, the first long run, and he's been pretty good here. It's just gotten a little bit loose on him. But I think if somebody in this group is going to make the first move to pit road, I'm looking at the back of it. I'm looking at that 70. I'm looking at that 29. Those guys have fallen off a little bit more than everybody else in this group right now, which is, it's surprising a little bit to me that the 29 has fallen off more than 17. The 17, Cameron has done a great job on this little bit older tire and stayed right here up in the fight for the lead.
He has. He's been right on the back bumper of Austin Beers. And I think the first one to pit road will be Cameron Rich or Aaron Smith or both, to try to grab their freshest tires and maybe be the first one off, try to get a gap, run some laps in clean air, and try to pull away and open up a gap to these guys that they'll have to get back later. Nick Indelicato's pressuring Nick Massey here for the third position rather, and that one car has come alive here late in the run, which is not a surprise whatsoever if you've been watching ERSCA at all.
I think we're going to have some pitters this time. We might have Gerald, we might have Crump, maybe, I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that.
Crump's staying out. What about Gerald? It'd be a good decision for Gerald. Here he comes. Brandon Bach's also coming.
Well, we saw him do that the first time too. So he's back on that same cycle. Ryan Gavel just had a big slide for life down there, I believe.
Yep, Aaron Smith's now all over the back bumper of the 0-1. Wonder if Gavel over pressured it getting up into fourth. He got up close to the back bumper of Massey, and he's since fallen off his teammate Indelicato. He lost fourth. He's maybe overcooked that right rear, heated it up a little bit, and it's just these little tiny mistakes where you cook that right rear just a little bit too much that can really just throw your whole run for a loop. It's real easy to make those mistakes. We've seen Massey kind of get into that a little bit with scraping the wall, but so far,
I think
it hasn't cost him
right here, boys. I think he's coming this time. Is what I'm hearing.
Yep, there he comes.
Oh, wow, getting right to that cone.
Ayuk's about the only one I've seen make the transition and then gas it up. I think everybody else kind of makes the transition a little bit later and tries to get their ground on the racetrack and then be braking all the way to the line. Ayuk brakes a little bit earlier, gasses it up entering, and then slams on the brakes right at the lines. So definitely a different approach to getting onto this pit road. But
I think Indelicato this time, boys.
Beers this time as well.
I do not think Beers called out that he was coming.
Gavel and Delicato both gained a lot of time on Beers right there.
Yeah, I don't think Beers. I think Beers was reacting.
Yep, I think he heard one car pitting, 0-1 pitting, and tried to jump on it and jump in front of him. And I think he actually did lose time versus just going around one time and having a lap fresher tires on it.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how long these guys are going to go.
Let's see. Cameron Rich and Nick Massey both still on the racetrack. Aaron Smith is too. Leininger on pit road. Here they come off. Beersen and Delicato going to be side by side on the access road. That might be a little bit interesting. No, and Delicato's going to take it from Beers.
Yeah, Beers might not have been willing to fight quite as hard. It is way we talk about how there's no grip on the track. It's less grip down there trying to get up to speed, so it's kind of risk versus reward on blending.
Massey and Rich stay out again. So does Aaron Smith. So does Crump. Dylan Thomas down pit road this time.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long these boys are going to run, but if I was crew chiefing for Nick, he'd be on pit road right now.
We'll see if he comes by this time. I think Scott Crump might be coming, and James Heater is officially in the first car to retire from the race. Maybe had a issue on pit road. Yep, here they come, both Rich and Massey. Oh, Massey, no!
Oh!
Nick Massey spins it coming to pit road.
Man, he didn't hit anything, but that's right. His crew chief, he needed his crew chief to warn him about pit road. Like, hey man, don't get too much.
Oh my goodness. Aaron Smith and Rich stay on the track a lot longer than everybody else with older tires, which is a bit of a questionable call in my mind. Mike Christopher now the race leader, as that right there was Austin Beers flashing by to get himself back on the lead lap. So that was actually an important pass. Oh, and Delicato just smacked the wall.
He just came off pit road too.
Beers is driven away from both Delicato and Biden.
We got a wreck on the front stretch. We're going to get a caution. 98 here. 12 was also involved, I believe.
Amy and Leininger don't get involved in the wreck challenge. Failed again. 12 car is just always having such bad luck. And Brian Narducci finally does lose the 98. He had been toying with that for a number of laps earlier in this race.
Oh, but I believe that 12 car is what's going to cause this incident. We're going to see it right here. I think 12 is going to get up in the wall. It's so hard to get these out of the wall, and it just swung very hard to the left.
Wow. It's a tough one there. Just scrapes the wall. And does Narducci get any big contacts coming back up the track? Doesn't look like it.
I mean, he did a great job holding the brake right there, too. Just sitting there and letting everybody go around him.
That works out very well for Mike Christopher, Joe Francis, Ryan Barbieri, Gavin Hibbs, Michael Goodman once again, Johnny Thomas, Kyle Hanshaw, and then those are the guys who hadn't pitted yet. Narducci also hadn't pitted yet. Austin Beers, Nick Delicato, and Matthew Bayuk are all also on the lead lap. Those guys had just pitted. Wow. So 2 incidents, both during green flag pit stops, yielding our first cautions of the race.
And I believe Gavel will get the lucky dog here.
Yeah, he will.
But that's going to hurt guys like Cameron Rich. He's going to be trapped. Scott Crump, Seth Rawls.
Yep.
Is he? I think Matthew's on the lead lap. Yeah, Nick is trapped. Nick is definitely trapped.
Yeah. Nick is all the way back in 25th at this point after the spin on pit road, so he'll need a bit of a miracle to make a comeback on this one, but he will have a chance to get the wave. Actually, I take it back. Massey's behind Beers and Delicato and them. If they stay out, Massey will not get the wave around. He will be trapped a lap down.
Yeah, and those guys just came off pit road, so I don't look for them to pit.
Nor do I. So Massey may be the only one truly hurt badly by this caution, other than Leininger and Narducci, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. 2 cautions before we can get to the end of the green flag cycle.
So let's take a break here. What are we at? Lap 90 of 120. We'll come back for the restart. For now, we'll throw it to Robert for a commercial.
I could lose you like some loose change. Usually I like to kick it through the Luke Kane. Every night living life out of suitcase. Too many voices in my head to hear what you saying. That's why I'm swimming in this liquor like a pool day. That's why I'm flying out to Vegas on a Tuesday. Yeah, I might catch a couple L's, but I'm cool, J. You never know, just like the shoes say. A new wave, I am on, wonder where my mind is gone. Every time I write a song, I feel like I right or wrong. I keep running right in place, might as well enjoy the chase. Wish I knew back then what I know right now. So fresh, but I guess how I wanna.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
All right, welcome back. We're racking them up after everybody gets the wave around here, and it'll be Austin Beers leading, Nick Indelicato running second, Matthew Bayuk running third, Mike Christopher Jr. running fourth, Joe Francis running fifth. Those guys will have slightly fresher tires than the aforementioned three. Everybody will be on the lead lap except for Nick Massey and the retired James Heater. So this race not over by any means, Chris, but it's been a good one so far. Only 2 cautions.
Yeah, it's been a great race. We're seeing these guys get the wave around and the lucky dog getting all boxed back up and getting ready to go green. The pace car is off. That 19 is going to bring us down, and the outside line, look how small that outside line is as the green comes out.
Austin Beers got a great start. Don't know if he was in first or what, but he shoots out to a massive lead. Now let's see what kind of damage he's done to those tires after a couple of laps under green. Mike Christopher to the outside of clear Bayuk, and he's going to almost lose it coming off of 2. Another new face into the top 5. Ryan Barbieri jumps into 5th. He'll go around Joe Francis as Christopher does clear Bayuk. Oh, Bayuk almost lost it too. Oh, man.
Yeah, we are inside 30 laps to go. Everybody has at least 1 set left, I believe. Some guys have 1, some guys have 2, but everybody's got a set left if they want to put them on at some point in these last 30 laps.
Joe Francis around Barbieri. Johnny Thomas now attacking the 15 car. Christopher to the inside of Indelicato. Give it to Mike Christopher. He jumps that 82 car up into P2, but they're all chasing after Austin Beers.
We saw Beers pretty good earlier that last run, kind of established the race lead there and showed everybody that you're going to beat him. We'll have to see what he can do on a little bit older tires here.
Johnny Thomas side by side with Gavin Hibbs back there. Joe Francis trying to get after Matthew Bayuk. That's for the 4th position.
Yeah, solid run so far for Joe Francis. We saw him sideways a few times over there in the 3 and 4.
Narducci's going to go. Oh, my goodness. Narducci just saved it right in front of Cameron Rich. Rich had to check up for the entirety of turn 4 exit to avoid hitting him, but he did so. Ryan Gavel's gone around Narducci just now, but yeah, Cameron Rich is kind of suffering behind here back in traffic. Before he falls out of the top 10, though, I do want to shout out Kyle Hanshaw. Oh, and we do get the caution.
Got a caution.
Couple of teammates there.
Oh, is this a couple Volkswagens on the backstretch?
It's all 3 Volkswagens. They all.
It is.
They all got into it. Dusty Dewar had a moment. Gerald Campbell was just trying to follow him, and
Gerald spent some time looking up straight down at the concrete here after the initial contact.
Yeah, this is a bit of an incident here, and Gerald's just trying to follow Dusty, and Dusty's getting loose, and there's nowhere to
Carpenter
go.
just took aim and said, "Give me that pink car."
Yep. All happened pretty quickly for old Carp there, and he gets into the back of the 31.
Well, that's back-to-back weeks. We've had a Volkswagen-only wreck. It's like they got their own little secret meetings back there. Nobody else is invited.
So everybody's gonna. Some people are gonna come down pit road. Johnny Thomas is gonna be one of those people. So is Kyle Hanshaw. Both of them coming to get tires. So is Narducci. I think that's a good decision on his end. And then some of these guys who had pitted earlier, Aaron Smith, Scott Crump, they're coming to get tires as well now that they've been put back into contention. Also want to note, Nick Massey got the lucky dog right there. 48 car is back on the lead lap, last week's winner.
I'll be shocked if he can get back up and compete for this race win. It's a tall task with this few laps left here, and I have to pass 24 cars, but I imagine he will come and get a set of tires as he has 2 lane in the pit, so there's really no reason not to hold on a set here and try to see what happens.
Grace, I'll tell you, I've watched a lot of these ERSCA races, and I have seen Nick Massey do crazier things than come finish into the top 10 in a race like this, from dead last with 20 laps to go.
Yeah, but how many times have you seen Nick Massey self-spin on pit entry?
That fair, right? Absolutely fair. He doesn't do that either.
He's missing a little bit of it. He don't got the full dog in him tonight.
Trying to call out Nick Massey, get him angry, even though he's definitely not listening to us right now. Should we bring him up here? Should we ask him if he's going to...
It'll be my fault. If with whatever happens here, he's going to message me after it's over, and he's going to say, "Man, it's your fault. We didn't do good tonight. We had these issues because you weren't on the pit box."
Absolutely.
It'll get back to being my fault some way, I'm telling you.
There's Nick Massey coming to get those tires that we talked about, and we talk about him a lot, right? But he is a 2-time ERSCA champion, won the inaugural championship, won last year's championship in the hybrid COT and Xfinity season, and he's obviously one of the strongest drivers in the field. Definitely the one that kind of deserves the kind of attention that we try to give him, and obviously surprising us by spinning on pit road today, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah, and Johnny has made some new rules too this season. I don't know how much you guys have talked about that, but whoever has the least amount of incidents will get the race for this championship.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody before the season started pointed at Nick Massey, but I believe he has managed to load himself down with at least 4 or 8, or maybe he might even got 12 walking away from Daytona. He is probably closer to the top of the list of most incidents.
Right, that's a new feature, but I do know that a race like Daytona is definitely going to skew that result. A lot of guys involved in stuff at Daytona that weren't necessarily deserving to be involved in a number of those wrecks, and then you got a guy like Johnny Thomas come through with a pretty clean car to win that race. So he may be Johnny honestly might be close to the top of that list at this point.
Johnny's got a great looking car too. I know I said that once tonight, but Johnny is got a great looking belly up sports car. It looks absolutely great. It looks fast, and that's what you want out of paint. So you want it to look like it's going fast, sitting still.
Yep, Johnny's got the old belly up sports colors on there, the orange, white, and blue. And he's also got a race win in the bag right now, and he's got the freshest tires in the field, right? He's the #1 car on fresh tires right now. Got to get aggressive right here, see if you can't make up some spots, get into the top 10, have a good finish here, at least have another chance on the next restart.
Yeah, and looking back through this field, looking at Dave Carpenter there, his nose is pushed in pretty far. That Volkswagen is not going to cut through the air like it was before.
Yeah, I think all 3 of those Volkswagens are going to be praying for a big wad up crash that they can dodge and gain some spots that way. Sometimes that's what you just have to do. And it's certainly possible with just 21 laps to go. Austin Beers leading Mike Christopher, Nick Indelicato, Matthew Bayuk, and Joe Francis here as we get ready to restart this race.
Is this our last yellow?
All right, here we go.
Very non-committal from you.
If I say anything, they'll blame me. Green flag is out. Austin Beers gets on the loud pedal, but Mike Christopher able to hang with him there in that 82 car. Somebody needs to put a sponsor on that thing. It had the Dale Jr. Bud car back at Daytona.
Yeah, I can't help but notice sitting here broadcasting this race, I don't see chairgating on anybody's car. What's he doing nowadays?
We gotta get some of these sponsors out here. We got plenty of guys who can get on that 82 car. He's racing for the win right now. 3 wide back in the field. Oh man. And Austin Beers does clear Christopher for the lead, and Delicato clears to 3rd. Francis and Bayuk still side by side for 4th. Barbieri and Gavel still side by side behind them. Now Gavel falls back, and it's going to be Barbieri and Francis trying to get through there, and still side by side. Big lot of cars here.
And everybody is looking sideways off these corners now. They're just driving it for what they got.
It is no longer
we got
time to
Damien,
save.
Mike Goodman wrecking here in turn 3.
Good, he's got another Volkswagen down.
I believe we had 2 teammates get together right there.
Is Brendan Bach a member of the Damian Leininger team? Because
Yeah, I see RLD on there.
Interesting.
And they made some contact. Got a Volkswagen involved there with Michael Goodman.
Good, he's minding his own business, just riding the top here. And Damian has been involved in every single caution so far, just about. Except for the Volkswagen caution. But yeah, Brendan Bach just very late committing to turn 3 here. Damian's corner probably already at this point, and he just drives it in there on the apron, and not a great move there for about 19th place on track. Michael Goodman nowhere to go, gets shoved in the pits.
Yeah, and you mentioned that he was in all those wrecks except the Volkswagen wreck. Well, he wasn't invited to the Volkswagen wreck, all right?
Right. Yeah.
That was their stinker meeting.
And that's why he went and got Michael Goodman in that wreck. So we call Goody up to the booth, see what he saw there.
I think that would be a definite. I didn't answer for Nick Massey there because I know Nick's not in
he's
Discord.
He's not in the Discord, yeah. So let's grab Michael Goodman and bring him up to the booth. Michael, what'd you see out there, buddy?
It looks like, I don't know if Damien was blocking or what the heck he was doing, but looks like the 33 and 12 got together, and yeah, nowhere to go really. So I think we're car's all right.
Two cautions in a row there, and 4 Volkswagens involved. How much money do you now have to spend to fix those 4 cars?
Well, we get these cars imported from Germany. They're on board. They're fully supportive. So we got this all for free.
Nice. So you got that factory backing.
Yep.
For their foray into NASCAR or ERSCA Cup Series racing.
Heck yeah. Schnell. Although we're in the back, but whatever.
You got any shout outs here for us, buddy? We saw you get the couple of good runs up to the top 5, and we figured you were keeping it clean, being patient, and you got sucked up into something not your own fault. So yeah, any shout outs?
Yeah, it got thorough good on the car. Go check them out. Got some good quality boots. Of course, shout out to old mama out there, Mrs. Goodies Goodies. Go check them out on Facebook. Get you a nice towel, and good old memory lanes in Athens, Wisconsin. And of course, can't leave out JD's Hilltop Salvage. Hopefully old JD's watching here tonight, and we'll make some noise hopefully by the end of it.
All right, buddy. Good luck for the rest of the way, and dodge them wrecks. Your Volkswagen seem to have a magnet for them right now.
Yeah, it happens. They're heavy. We got diesels in these things, and we'll do our best.
All right, buddy. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Always a great guy to talk to. Who doesn't love Goody?
I know, right? He's a great guy. He announces for ERSCA on Thursdays for us, and he always, he gets to poke at me on the broadcast, so I got to poke back at him when I can. You know what I mean?
I believe Nick Massey went ahead and came down here and got his last set, and he said we're going to be done for pit stops tonight.
Some beers will take the top. Christopher had fought really well on the top and restarted well on the top there, so I wonder if he's just trying to get Christopher a little bit more uncomfortable here as they kind of prep for this battle for the win.
Here they come, down to the restart box.
Beers took him down really slow and forced Christopher to check up, and then once he did, Beers got on it and jumps ahead of that and clears that 82 car. Now Delicato's going to drop to the inside with an aggressive move, but Christopher's able to hold him off.
everybody, like I said, just wiggling up off of 2. They are just, it is time to go, not save nothing.
It's going to keep on
Oh,
happening.
we got a wreck, the 22, the 7 down here to turn 3.
Oh, Hanshaw and Trupiano. And I get the feeling this is going to be a recurring theme for the rest of the race. That's why I didn't answer anything before. Because
It's starting to clear up now why nothing was said earlier.
Mm-hmm. Just let's see what happened here. Kyle Hanshaw dropped to the bottom lane, committed down there. Narducci just decided he was more interested in committing, and Kyle Hanshaw tried to give him some room, and there's already a car high.
And me being a guy from Ohio, I hate to see the car that's sponsored with Ohio there up in the turn 3 wall.
I did mention Hanshaw's name earlier when he was running the top 10, and I'm regretting it. I'm regretting it already. Let's see what Leininger saw there as those guys started to come down the racetrack.
He finally saw a wreck he chose not to be in right there.
There you go. We're proud of you, Damien. Good work.
And
Finally
no
missed one.
Volkswagens right either. Like all those cars dodged it.
All right. The Goody's bill doesn't go up any for them diesels.
Which is good because I think they're going to send that 71 back. I think it's pretty much totaled.
Well, look at that factory backing. You know, we don't have very many factory teams here, but you know, good to hear from the Volkswagen folks over in Germany. Austin Beers continues to lead. It did play the restart game there with Mike Christopher and got the good jump. I'm willing to bet Christopher will be ready for that later restart now, and Beers may go earlier in the zone, try to pick up that quick jump that Christopher was able to time up the first time.
And I'm not sure about the restart rules here in ERSCA, but I'm willing to bet if he feels like, hey, you braked and you're not allowed to brake, you're not allowed to slow us down, you got to maintain the pace, he might be in Johnny's ear or another league admin's ear here saying, hey, watch this restart because that last one.
Well, I believe it's the restart zone, right? So I don't think there's really that much that can be done. But we do have Johnny Eckert in race control. He's up there watching over it, and if anything looks fishy, he's pretty quick to jump on it and declare something that went wrong, and or clear the black flags that iRacing provides, or allow them to stand. So.
And I'm not saying Austin did anything wrong. I don't know. We didn't go back and look at it. But if I was that car starting beside him and I felt like there was even a hint of him tapping the brake or slowing us down even a mile an hour or two, I'm going to be letting him know, like, hey, he can't do that. Like, you know, it's a major disadvantage when that happens to you. So I'm just saying from the second place perspective, I'm wanting this to be totally clean and legit on the up and up without any kind of slowdown. If he feels like that, he might not even feel like that. It might have just been a better start for Austin.
Yeah, that last one looked like a good start from the 19 car. 82 got a better one the time before that. I also wonder if maybe the outside line a little bit easier to see the guy in front of you, be able to time it with the banking kind of sloping down like that, and maybe the inside a little more of a disadvantage where it's a little difficult to see that car above you.
And that 82, that was the car that was in position to win last week and messed up on a restart going through the gears, couldn't get it out of neutral. So he might be a little more hesitant and be thinking more about what he's doing. And when you're thinking about that after you just had that issue last week, you're probably not doing it without thinking. You know,
right.
You're thinking about not messing it up, and you're not going to get through the gears as good. You just got to put it behind you and do the same thing you've been doing forever.
Right. Well, a lot of these inside guys are laying way back. Yeah, Barbieri laid back. Gavin Hibbs laid back. They've all catch up here. Here we go. Beers went real early in the restart zone that time, and Christopher got a better jump, but not nearly as good as that very first one, and it's going to cost him Delicato. I think he even came on the mic.
Oh, we got a big run on the one side. We got somebody upside down. Scott Crump is carrying the 33.
Bach, Crump, Narducci. It might have been it. I'm struggling to find anybody else involved in that one. There's 3 more spots for Nick Massey right there.
Yeah, I am not sure what happened there, but
Johnny gets through the gears okay. So there goes Narducci, cuts underneath Crump, bangs doors with Crump, and Crump and him get together, and 33 car Brendan Bach nowhere to go, goes upside down. Wow. I'm not sure where Narducci thought he was going there, man. We've seen that move a lot. It's caused every caution since we kind of got back to this late dive below somebody, just kind of expecting them to give you the room. And
Well, I
It's late in the
think what
race.
happened here is we're getting to 10 to go. Johnny did not get quite the start that they thought, and it forced Scott to check up. And when Scott checked up, the 98 had a big run, and he was able to do it after the line. I really can't fault the 98 for what happened there. I mean, he had a big run, taking him 3 wide. And Scott tried to pinch him down a little bit there, didn't want to wash up by that 33, and I think Scott was frustrated with the restart and did not want to lose the spot, but there was so much momentum there that kind of had to give him the room.
Yeah, no, I think that move does occur a lot earlier than I initially thought, right? I think Narducci's there earlier, but that move is such a bonsai move to make it, even from this spot in the field, right? He's not going to win the race from this far back. So that move really can only end in disaster. Maybe if Crump backs it up and gives him the room, then maybe they don't wreck there, but it's Scott Crump. You got to know who you're racing as well, and Crump is the kind of guy who's not going to give that room.
And a lot of times back in the field like that, when you have that big of a run and you are able to do that, you're not thinking that you're going to do that when the green comes out. It just kind of happens. When you're up in the front, you can anticipate a little bit more and kind of be, those first 3 or 4 rows, you anticipate what's going to happen if somebody doesn't take off, if somebody does take off. Being back that far, it all happens and you just react to it. And I think he decided, the momentum gain, he was closing so fast that he was like, man, I can get, if there's no contact, he's probably half a car length in front of Scott by the time they get to turn 1.
Right. I at the end of the day, we've seen that move a couple of times too, right? The late move, 3 wide, it's caused cautions. It's the type of move that's going to cause these cautions. And, it's a risk versus reward, and maybe that's the thing that I've been noting on iRacing for the last year plus, is that a lot of more guys are more interested in the reward than they are the risk, because it's iRacing,
sure.
right? It's just online racing. Who cares, right? We'll just plow into everybody, and I think overall the quality of league racing has kind of suffered for that.
Yeah, and a lot of, we've seen kind of both ends of it tonight. We saw great racing until about 40 to go, and now we've just been caution after caution, and it just gets to that point in the race where nobody wants to give. We saw a lot of give and take early, and now it's all take, and this is the result.
Right, and you've got guys back there. Scott Crump's much faster than whatever 13th or wherever he was running at that point. That's a guy who's very much
already frustrated.
He should have been. Yeah, he's very much believing he should be in the top 5, and because he's not, the race hasn't gone that way, but he's still making those aggressive moves. And he didn't make that one, but just for example, right? It's
when you got a guy who's already mad like Scott, and then all of that's happening. Oh, we got a wreck back here. Nick Massey, the 77's turned around.
That was caused by the race leader. He went really early, and about half the field reacted properly to it, and about half of them didn't. They weren't ready for it. They're still racing. They're still racing. There's no caution.
That's going to be Nick Massey's race there.
Yeah,
I believe Nick is wrecked again as well down here.
There's no caution still. Beers is out in front.
The 77 took a big swipe at Nick here down into turn 1.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we might have to go back and catch that on the replay if we get a chance. But yeah, he feels like it was Nick's fault there, whatever happened.
Nick got up behind him, but I think Nick was prepared for the start, and Eisenman got kind of caught sleeping. Beers went way earlier than the restart zone. He had been going into the restart zone. I think we don't have restart zones on then, and Beers just went real early, and it created that kind of situation right there. So battle for 5th, Gavin Hibbs going after Ryan Barbieri on the outside. Casey Kane throwback, trying to make a move into the top 5.
Yep, here he goes. He's going to have the run. The 15 is going to be loose. He's going to try to keep the door shut. Gets a pretty good exit there.
Yep, here comes Hibbs down to the bottom, preferred lane. See if Barbieri tries to cut that off. He does. Hibbs lifts, gives him the spot.
Well, the 15 might pay the price on exit there. He does. He gets loose on exit. That's the price you pay for chopping somebody and driving in a little deeper. But the 9 didn't take advantage of it.
No, not yet. Oh, they're trying to wreck again. Handshaw's on the apron.
Oh, and the 25 is spun down here into turn 1.
Yep, caution's out. Caution's finally out. for that one, and I am interested to see whether we get any. Well, let's go to the replay. Let's try to get that restart replay one more time, and then we'll take this one. Oh man, it's the Volkswagens again, man. Hanshaw went to the apron to try to avoid it. All right, here's the restart replay, and maybe Robert, if we could jump up to Beers, show him going early. He goes right there. All right, now jump back to the guys in the back. He's going right where they're on pit road. Massey's going. Eisman's not going.
That might be a little bit of a difference in Nick's experience on the sim,
Right.
and
Yeah,
knowing that he's
you're right.
going and the 77 not. But if you play this forward down into 1, that 77 feels like Nick just really could have avoided that. But I think Nick just expected him to go, like you said.
Look at all the guys in front of him going. 77. Maybe the 77 missed a shift or something. I don't know, but obviously not if he's taking a swipe at Nick.
Yeah,
I
they
mean-
stop there, they get going, and then right down past the start-finish line, Nick's going to go to his outside, and the 77 said, yeah, I didn't like that too much.
That's of all the guys I thought were going to get intentionally wrecked today, I did not. Nick Massey was definitely the last driver on my list.
Yeah, and then we had those Volkswagens through the grass, like you mentioned, but the caution was the 25 down into turn 1, getting churned, I believe, by the 03 of Dylan Thomas.
You're doing great, Robert. There's a whole lot going on, buddy.
Yeah, Robert's got his work cut out for him over here tonight, all of a sudden.
We do have Eisenman in the infield care center, though. I don't know if we should bring him up. We'll see.
Yeah, here's this wreck.
Oh.
That's the caution.
That looked like netcode to me. Dylan Thomas he's very aggressive. He's willing to be right on the edge of, control and spinning somebody out. And it looked like he was in the right spot there to not check him up, and he was checking up, and that car popped in the air.
Yeah, the whole line starts to check up, and I just don't think he was ready for it, and just kind of got into him. I don't think it was intentional.
Oh yeah, no, that's I don't know. Dylan's internet is always so bad too that you never know where the bubble is on that car for the netcode. But Seth Rawls does a really good job to save it.
Yeah, all of a sudden, cautions broke out over here.
It did. Green, white, checkered will be the result here. So let's go ahead and bring Drew Eisenman and give him a couple seconds to tell his tale. Drew, it's David in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Take us through that restart, man. What happened?
48 decided to play games, trying to get runs on people like we've seen in every freaking restart in this race. And same stuff happened. That's happened every freaking time. And apparently playing games is more important than, racing each other cleanly and having fun. And then we're just going to continue to see this until these guys decide to not do that and actually race each other.
Well, I don't know if David's going to throw us under the bus, but I will. I will say this. On the replay, it looked like everybody went, and maybe you slept a little bit, and we broke that down there on the replay. There was definitely a lot of restart games being played up towards the front, but a lot of guys were going, and David kind of said maybe you missed a shift, but obviously the way you were talking, you did not miss a shift. Do you think you were sleeping a little bit on that restart? Nick's a guy that it might not mean much coming from me. It would probably mean more coming from somebody else since I'm friends with Nick. But Nick's the last guy who's going to drive through somebody and do something like that on a restart, intentional or anything like that.
No, I mean, I wasn't sleeping. I was just not playing games trying to anticipate it, right? I went when the car in front of me went because we've been seeing problems every single restart this race. So guess what? I'm not going to be a contributing factor. The guy behind me, 48, apparently did decide to be a contributing factor and just ran me over. Like, you go when the car in front of you goes, especially for freaking 20th position. We're not racing for the lead. We're racing for 20th position, and everybody is playing freaking games on these restarts. Like,
I gotta cut you off. We're going on the last lap right here, so appreciate it, man. But we got you, man.
Yeah.
Sorry about it.
And so we're going to get the white flag here with the 19 out in front. The battle is for right there around 5th spot.
Yep, Austin Beers got control of this race right at the right time, and the cautions are going to serve him well. I don't know if anybody's really going to have anything for him. It's just going to be between him and Christopher down into turn 3.
Christopher's close enough if he wanted to dive in on him, but it does not look like that's going to happen.
Gonna get a run here coming off of turn 4. I don't think he's gonna have enough time though. Got real
All
loose coming
kinds of
off.
cars everywhere back here. We're 3 wide for, I don't know, 5th.
Yep, Austin Beers gonna win this race. Ryan Barberry gets wrecked going into turn 1. At the finish, the rundown will be Austin Beers, the race winner. Mike Christopher finishes 2nd. Matthew Bayuk comes home in 3rd to complete the podium. Ryan Barbieri finishes 4th, and Nick Indelicato will round out the top 5. Ryan Gavel 6th, Gavin Hibbs 7th, Cameron Rich 8th, Aaron Smith 9th, and Seth Rawls comes back to get into the top 10. There was definitely some fireworks there on the last lap. 15 car ran over the 1 car on the back straightaway.
Yeah, it was a really good race until about 30, 45 laps to go or so, and then we got a bunch of cautions that really hurt the finish. But it worked out for Austin. He stayed out. And
Mm-hmm. Yep, smart move there by the old 19 car. And let's see. Yeah, Indelicato catches the wall, comes down. Barbieri gets him at the line. And then Indelicato just runs into Barbieri there, right into turn 1. I don't know, man. I don't know what their deal was, honestly. And then Barbieri is going to go chase him down on the back straightaway. Austin
one thing's for
Beers.
sure, though, we had Drew up here, and he was pretty frustrated. And I went back and taken another look at that incident there, and I just really can't fault Nick for what he did. Everybody went.
No.
The 77 said he went when the guy in front of him went, but Dustin was gone there, and the 77 still was kind of going pace speed. I just don't think he was prepared for how early that restart came. Hopefully he'll get a chance to calm down and realize when he looks at it and sees, maybe sees it different.
It's tough because, that's why I wasn't real sure I wanted to bring him in, because not because I don't want to hear his side, but because I wanted to be able to catch that last couple of laps, and he definitely had more to say than I think we were ready for at the time. And so sorry we missed the first lap and a half there and had to send him off quick, but it's just that's racing at sometimes, and I think we've broke it down as best we could without being biased there. But there's a lot of those kind of very close wrecks in this race between guys that could have been this guy's fault or that guy's fault. It's a tough night overall, I think, but we ran 80 good laps. It's just disappointing that we couldn't run the last 40 that way.
Yeah, it's just part of it. We see it in other leagues too. You get down towards the end, you get one caution, and that one caution's kind of like opening up the floodgates.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So with that, let's bring Matthew Bayuk, the 3rd place finisher, into the booth. Matthew, a good run tonight. Started off with the lead, and you were able to kind of keep that track position late. Just take us through your night there, but how you got up to 3rd place.
Yeah. Last season, ERSCA went here. We won the pole and led the opening 20-ish laps and kind of dropped back considerably in the long run. That was the case here, but I honestly feel a lot better in these cars than I do with the B cars. It was good to get that good launch and lead some laps. And I've never quite had these long runs figured out the way Cameron Rich and Delicato and Aaron Smith have. Those guys were probably the 3 fastest on the long runs, and that's where we were getting killed. And by the end of the race, the cautions kept happening and didn't really have any time to make something work. But Austin Beers is probably the #1 short run guy I've ever raced with. If there's anybody who can maximize his grip for 15 laps, it was him. So either way, I think looking at the results, we'll come out of here the points leader. So I can't complain. With the 0x and everything, had a pretty good points day. I'm still looking for that ERSCA win. It's been like 3 years, but I can never complain with a top 3.
I don't know, Chris. You want to ask him a question? I usually just ask all the questions, but if you want to ask one, that's fine.
Yeah, Matthew, you had a great run tonight. It got some cautions there every time during the green flag cycle. So what was your take there? Did you want to see those cautions? Did they help you, hurt you? And then obviously at the end of the race, maybe you would have liked to have seen a few more green flag laps than what we got.
I wanted to see it. I'm mildly distracted by all the drama. I'm sorry. I wanted to see it go green, honestly, because what we kind of started to see after that first one, I think it was Aaron Smith and Cameron Rich were out front on like 8 or 10 lap older tires, but it's really hard to pass. if you can manage your stuff, nobody's going to really be able to get by you unless they really gun for it and kill their stuff. So we started short pitting a lot, and I would have liked it to stay green because maybe you on a slightly older tires, but you're in front of them. But either way, these things get so chaotic at the end, and we always seem to come out with the with the bad end of the stick. I'm just happy to get out of here with a good finish.
Yeah, man. So, you know, maybe just provide some insight on the kind of drama we're seeing. What are people so mad about?
Laying back on the restarts is a big thing. I mean, I don't remember who was behind me. It was one of the last restarts. Somebody hit the freaking loud pedal. I swear, like 5 seconds early. My back end got lifted up, and I had to save it just sitting there. And then like 4 seconds later, Beers hit the gas and we went green. And I was like, that was a little early. And then the next restart, guys were laying back a ton. Just a lot of restart games is what it is. And then with the incident point incentive, contact after the line, people lose out on that. I mean, just towards the end of the races, people just get a little antsy and they start to those fundamentals and respects just kind of seem to crumble a little bit. But I mean,
I
for the
did
most
not
part, it's
see
been fun.
anybody worried about the incident point incentive in those last 25 laps.
Oh no, I mean like after the race. Like the race is over, but the incident points still count. It's contact after the race that people are really mad about right now.
I gotcha.
But no, you're right. In the last 25 laps, I don't know what was going on. You're right. People were, I guess they were just running into each other.
Yeah. All right, Matthew, hit us with some shout outs before we send you off here tonight.
Yeah, of course. Uh, First of all, my teammates, Ryan Gavel, Nick Indelicato, Seth Rawls. Fun running with these guys every week. We've been bringing some good speed so far, hoping to keep up the momentum. Shift Esports, SR Design for bringing the cool paint to the track. They've got a few more out there than just on our team, so go check them out. And my dad and my brother for tuning in for pretty much the whole race. My mom for the support. You guys for the broadcast. David, you and Dom always do a good job, but I like listening to Robert and Chris too. I like when you guys do the elite broadcast, so it'll be fun to watch this one back.
Who do you like better, them or us?
Oh God, don't you dare! Don't make me do that.
Chris is just
I
being
get the
mean
best
right
of both
now.
worlds. How about that? Well, then that's bad. That's mean to Dom. So never mind. Um, and race control and Johnny Thomas for bringing ERSCA back for another year. This is the only league I make time for because it's lots of fun.
Alrighty, man. Well, congratulations on the podium today and possibly the points lead, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, guys. See you.
Alrighty, that was third place finisher Matthew Bayuk. Let's grab the runner-up finisher, Mike Christopher. And Mike, good run there tonight. Almost brought it back from last week, but just a little too late there at the end. Take us through your day, and then what maybe you could have done at the end there with Austin Beers.
Yeah, we had a good piece. Even last week it was good, but Jericho sent me a bad transmission. I sent it back to them. They brought me a good piece this week, and it was good on the restarts, and it proved it because we had so many at the end. Those restarts are tough. I had that good one on the outside, and then they started taking the top, and I just can't time it right. I don't have a look right button either. I only have a look left. I don't know why, but he used that to his advantage. I think I was a little bit better, but yeah, the whole race, I don't think I practiced too well, qualified very well either, but took me like half the race to figure it out. That long green flag run, I said, well, my only shot is to stay out and stretch it as long as I could. That's what I did, and it worked out. And then we came out fourth, and I think Austin and I were pretty close. I think it was a little bit better, but like I said, the restarts there at the end are a little tough.
Now, take me back to last week with that restart. We saw what happened there on that last restart of the race. Were you thinking about that tonight with all those restarts and maybe not hitting it quite like you wanted to, worried that you weren't going to be able to find anything but neutral?
Like I said, I took the transmission back to Jericho. They fixed it up and gave me a good piece for this week. It's not common. It's actually I've never had something miss a shift, especially in these cars. Kind of just goes in, and I have paddles too, so I don't know what happened there. It just never went in. It's just dumb iRacing luck sometimes gets you.
Gotcha, man. Well, before we send you off for next week, are you gonna bring a sponsor on that old 82 car? We saw the Bud on it at Daytona. Maybe bring us a sponsor next week.
Yeah. No, I don't really run. I mean, I ran that Bud car because I don't know, it's just a good looking car. But coming to hosted shows, I just like running the basic black with the number 82 on the side. And I'm the modified guy hooked me up with the paint scheme. Thing looks great, nice and clean, simple, nothing to it. That's what I like. I don't have sponsors like the guy before me thanked everyone but the mailman. It's just me. I just got Tom the Modified Guy. Check him out. Fenceline Films on YouTube.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the P2, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks.
All right, now let's bring up race winner Austin Beers to the booth. Austin, you got me? It's David.
Yep, I got you.
All right, man. Take us through those last couple of restarts and getting the lead. I think the pit strategy really worked out for you nicely, and and then it was just a game of restarts the rest of the way.
Yeah, that first yellow kind of helped us, keeping 10 or so cars on the lead lap, and then I could come down and pit again for new tires, and kind of drove to the lead from ninth in the middle portion of the race, and I could pit when I wanted to because I was a leader, so that felt good, and just try not to mess up on pit road and mess up the pit strategy, but just being calm and letting the race play out and come to me, and it actually worked out for once, so that was pretty cool. Just pretty proud to finally get an ERSCA win.
Yeah, man. Is this your first ERSCA win? I feel like you've been in victory lane with us before.
No, I've only ran like half a season, so
Yeah.
this is my first full-time season, so I'm pretty ecstatic right now to get a win.
Hell yeah. Well, let's go back real quick before I hand it over to Chris. Let's go back to that pit call. You were originally going to stay out and everybody behind you pitted. Were you that confident in being able to go around those guys on the restart that you were able to pit the lap after and go ahead and take the tires? We kind of questioned that call at the time, but then you made us look dumb. You drove them right through.
Yeah, well, I just figured there was nobody behind me as a backup for when they had tires, so I just figured cut my losses, lose some track position, and get the tires now, because I think if I wouldn't have, I would have just fell back to where I would have restarted anyways, and hopefully my ability to pass cars could help out there. So yeah, definitely was nervous when I saw everybody behind me pit, and I stayed out, so I had to come in a lap later and lose that track position, but fortunately we were able to get it back.
And now take me to the other pit call, the pit call to stay out there, and it ultimately worked out. How did you know that we were going to get all cautions the rest of the race?
Well, I only had a couple laps on the tires, and fortunately I was able to get around Nick right before the yellow. When we came off of pit road, he actually beat me on pit road, and in the 3 I got him back, so that kind of helped. That helped a lot, and just staying out because I saw there was like 20 cars in the lead lap. I knew a lot of people would stay out later in the race, and then I knew it was just gonna kind of turn into a wreck fest like usual, which it's unfortunate. The guys in 16th or 18th are wrecking trying to win races from back there, but up front it was really nice and clean, and we were having a good time.
All right, man. Well, you got any shout outs for us here before we send you off?
Yep. Troy Race Cars, Tom the Modified Guy, Black Flag Podcast, Mike, Christopher for running me clean. That was really fun to get a 1-2 as teammates. That was pretty cool. And you guys for doing the broadcast, and Johnny Thomas, Johnny Eckert, and Kyle Henshaw for running the league.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on your first ERSCA win, and have a good night celebrating, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That is race winner Austin Beers, and we are now 3 ERSCA races into the season, and I think all of them have been rather dramatic.
Yeah, 3 races, 3 different winners, and there's some people who are pretty upset after tonight's race, more so maybe than last week after Richmond even.
Yeah, a bit wild, and you could tell it was just very difficult to pass. Guys were taking a lot of aggression out, and then also we saw the post-race contact that guys were not happy about as well. So I think with the incident count points. I think that there's some reason to be upset there, but we'll have to let the penalty report come out, let Johnny Thomas square us away next week. So I think that's it for us. We'll be back next week. I believe it's going to be me, Dom, and Carlos next week, but you'll see Robert and Chris also all season long. They're allowing this whole season to be broadcasted. So thanks, guys, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about getting to work with these guys at Belly Up and ERSCA again. And like you said, we won't be back next week. You will be. The next time you will hear me and Robert will be May 22nd. So a couple weeks here, and then we'll be back.
Yep, but it'll be a nice little juxtaposition. We'll get a bunch of different voices in the booth, and I think everybody will be a little more refreshed each week, especially with the way this thing has been going, where everything's very dramatic. But for Belly Up Sports and ERSCA, this has been Robert Hill, David Westergreen, and Chris Wright from the booth. We'll see you guys next week.